Xin mời tất cả quý quan khách bước ra sân để chúng ta có thể là bắt đầu lễ chào cờ.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can please make your way out, we will begin the ceremony shortly.
Ra đây. Ê bà Phương qua đây nè. Ủa sao kỳ vậy?
Cái ông mà ca nhưng mà cũng là bên bờ hả? Ở nhưng mà đi miền Đông á, mua những hàng mà bên bạn.
Dạ. Bây giờ con muốn đến trước con không? Con nhường chỗ ra.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I can have your attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. V Nguyen, Vice President of Internal Affairs for the Vietnamese community in Australia, Victoria Chapter, who will be acknowledging and paying respects to the indigenous community, including the First Nations people.
Chúng tôi kính mời cô Vi Nguyễn, Phó Chủ tịch Nội vụ Cộng đồng người Việt tự do Victoria, gửi lời tri ân đến người dân tộc thổ dân Úc.
We would first like to respectfully and acknowledge the Wurundjeri and the Bunurong peoples as the traditional custodians of this land and pay our respects to those past, present and emerging.
Trước hết, chúng ta xin tri ân bộ lạc tổ dân Wurundjeri và Bunurong, những người đầu tiên đất nước này. Chúng tôi cũng xin tri ân những người trưởng tộc đã mất cũng còn hiện diện.
We would like to invite everyone to stand if you are able for the flag raising ceremony and singing of both the Vietnamese and Australian national anthems.
Chúng tôi kính mời quý vị đứng lên để chào quốc kỳ Úc Việt.
Let us take a moment to reflect and honor the sacrifices made by our ancestors, the courageous soldiers and fellow citizens who fought for Vietnam's freedom, democracy and independence.
Sau đây chúng ta dành một giây phút mặc niệm để tưởng nhớ và tri ân công đức các bậc tiền nhân, những chiến sĩ và đồng bào đã hy sinh trong cuộc chiến đấu bảo vệ tự do, dân chủ và nền độc lập của dân tộc Việt Nam.
We also pay tribute to those who lost their lives at sea in search of freedom, as well as the conscientious prisoners and activists who endured hardships in re-education camps for the cause of democracy.
Chúng ta cũng nhớ đến những người đã vượt biển tìm tự do và các tù nhân lương tâm, những nhà đấu tranh đã dũng cảm hy sinh trong ngục tù cải tạo vì tự do dân chủ.
Each departed soul serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration for future generations.
Mỗi linh hồn ra đi không chỉ là niềm tin và hy vọng mà còn là nguồn cảm hứng bất tận cho thế hệ sau.
Please bow your heads as we observe this reflective moment to begin our minute of silence.
Hãy cùng cúi đầu trong khoảnh khắc tĩnh lặng này để bắt đầu phút mặc niệm.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you can make your way inside now.
Xin cảm ơn quý vị rất nhiều và xin mời quý vị trở vào trong hội trường để chúng ta có thể bắt đầu.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Australia Day celebration. If you can please join me in welcoming Mr. Nathan Dre, Vice President of External Affairs for the Vietnamese community in Australia, Victoria Chapter, to introduce today's event.
Thưa quý vị, chúng tôi kính mời anh Nathan Dre, Phó Chủ tịch Ngoại vụ của Cộng đồng Người Việt Tự do Victoria đến để gửi lời chào và tóm tắt chương trình ngày hôm nay. Xin mời anh Dre.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to firstly acknowledge the traditional owners of land that we gather upon here today, the Wurundjeri and Burong people of the Kulin Nation. Today, we gather here to celebrate Australia Day. It is a day to reflect on who we are, where we've come from, and the journey ahead as we move forward together. We must also acknowledge the pain and loss of some particular people, in particular the First Nations communities who have been here for thousands of years. Australia is a multicultural country and is home to people from all around the world. We are rich in diversity, traditions and cultures that have come together to create a nation that is uniquely ours. Our strength as a nation lies in our ability to come together, to learn from our past and to continue evolving with empathy and understanding. We are a nation built on principles of fairness, freedom and opportunity, but we must also strive to ensure that these values are realised for everyone. This year will also mark a significant milestone in the Vietnamese community as the Vietnamese community celebrates 50 years of refugee settlement, 50 years of freedom from 1975 to 2025, and to honour our shared journey of the first Vietnamese arrival of refugees in Australia. The Vietnamese community in Australia have contributed to Australia's cultural diversity, community enrichment and our way of life. And we will continue to work tirelessly to improve the standard of living for all Australians. On this Australia Day, let us celebrate the richness of our country's diverse culture, the achievements of our people and the hope that tomorrow will bring. But let us also commit to the journey of healing and reconciliation, ensuring that we honour the history of all those who have called this land home and work towards a future where every Australian can walk together with dignity and respect for each other. Thank you for listening and may we continue to build a nation we can all be proud of. I would like to also say a few words in Vietnamese for everyone else to understand. Kính thưa quý ông bà và cô bác, hôm nay chúng ta gặp nhau ở nơi đây để kỷ niệm ngày Quốc Khánh Úc. Đây là ngày để chúng ta cùng nhau suy ngẫm. Chúng ta là ai, chúng ta từ đâu đến và đoạn đường mà chúng ta đang cùng nhau tiến tới. Úc là một quốc gia đa văn hóa và là nơi sinh sống của những người đến từ khắp nơi trên thế giới. Nước Úc giàu có nhờ sự đa dạng, sự giữ gìn truyền thống và các nền văn hóa đã kết hợp lại để tạo nên một quốc gia độc đáo của riêng nước Úc. Sức mạnh của nước Úc nằm ở khả năng đoàn kết, học hỏi từ quá khứ và tiếp tục phát triển với sự tôn trọng và hiểu biết lẫn nhau. Nước Úc là một quốc gia được xây dựng trên các nguyên tắc công bằng, tự do và cơ hội. Chúng ta vẫn luôn tranh đấu để bảo đảm những giá trị này được thực hiện cho tất cả mọi người. Năm nay, một cột mốc quan trọng là kỷ niệm 50 năm tại định cư người Việt Nam Thị Nạn, 50 năm tự do, là dịp để tôn vinh hành trình tự do của cộng đồng chúng ta kể từ khi những người Thị Nạn Việt Nam đầu tiên đến Úc. Cộng đồng Việt tự do đã đóng góp vào sự đa dạng văn hóa, làng giàu nước Úc và lối sống của Úc. Và chúng tôi sẽ tiếp tục làm việc không mệt mỏi để cải thiện mức sống cho tất cả mọi người dân Úc. Nhân ngày Quốc Khánh Úc, chúng ta hãy cùng nhau tôn vinh sự phong phú của nền văn hóa đa dạng của Úc, những thành tựu của người Úc và hy vọng rằng ngày mai sẽ mang lại tốt đẹp nhất cho tất cả mọi người. Nước Úc cũng cam kết thực hiện hòa giải, bảo đảm rằng chúng ta tôn vinh lịch sử của tất cả những người đã coi vùng đất này là nhà và hướng tới một tương lai mà mọi người Úc có thể nhau bước đi với phẩm giá và sự tôn trọng. Cảm ơn quý vị đã lắng nghe và chúng ta hãy tiếp tục xây dựng một quốc gia Úc mà tất cả chúng ta đều có thể tự hào. Xin kính chào quý vị.
Thank you, Nathan.
We extend our warmest welcome to the distinguished guests from government bodies, local councils and community representatives for gracing us with your presence at this Australian Day celebration. Your attendance adds great significance to our celebration and we are truly honoured for your participation.
Chúng tôi xin gửi lời chào mừng nồng nhiệt nhất đến các quý vị khách từ các cấp chính quyền, các hội đồng thành phố địa phương và các tổ chức cộng đồng đã vinh dự có mặt tại lễ Quốc Khánh Úc. Sự hiện diện của quý vị quan khách làm tăng thêm ý nghĩa lớn cho lễ hội và chúng tôi rất vinh dự chào đón quý vị.
We would like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Daniel Molino, MP, Federal Member for Fraser, Chair of Standing Committee on Economics. The Honorary Natalie Suman, MP, State Member for St. Albans, Minister for Veterans, Minister for Youth, Minister for Small Businesses and Employment. Ms. Katie Hall, State Member for Footscray. Ms. Sarah Connolly, MP, State Member for Laverton. Mr. Trung Lu, MP, Member for Western Metropolitan Region, Secretary of Parliamentary Liberal Party, Shadow Assistant Minister for Police, Corrections and Crime Prevention. Ms. Moira, MP, State Member for the Western Metropolitan Region.
Ms. Twan, the first Vietnamese refugee mayor of Brimbank City Council, Councillor Phúc Lam of Maribyrnong City Council, Councillor Virginia Tacos, City of Brimbank, Councillor Moira Kerr, City of Brimbank, Councillor Duy Anh Phạm, City of Brimbank, Councillor Kim Thiên Trương, City of Brimbank,
Councillor Daniel Krug, City of Brimbank, Councillor Michael Ho, City of Yarra, Dr. Kiều Tiến Dung, former member of Victorian Parliament, Mr. Dan Vạc Da, President of Republic of Vietnam Veterans Association, Mrs. Huỳnh Bích Cận, OAM founder and president, Vietnamese Australian Women Association, Mrs. Trang Da Thanh Khanh, OAM founder and vice president, Vietnamese Australian Women Association, Ms. Trung Ngọc, CEO, Vietnamese Australian Women Association, Mr. Thái Đắc Nhung, Vietnamese Language School of Black
Mr. chứcLễ Hollywood Now, Mr. Lê Bình Quy, President of Freedom Day Club, Ms. Nguyễn Minh Thúy, President of VASA, bà Trần Mỹ Hạnh và ông Phan Văn Hai, Hội ABA Porinara Senior Citizens, Mr. Nguyễn Văn Luận và Mrs. Đỗ Lan Hương, Hội Ái hữu cao niên Brimbank, Mr. and Mrs. Hương Dương, ông Bùi Quốc Hùng, báo nhân quyền, bà Quỳnh Hoa, trưởng hội cao niên Blackburn, ông Nguyễn Hồng Anh, chủ bút báo TV Trường Sang và Mr. Trần Anh Phương. Apologies are Mrs. Ingrid Stitt, MP, Minister for Health, for Mental Health, Minister for Aging, Minister for Multicultural Affairs, Honourable Brad Patten, MP, Opposition Leader, Evan Mulholland, MP, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Shadow Minister for Arts and Creative Industry, Shadow Minister for Major Project, Shadow Minister for Multicultural Affairs,
Councillor Victoria Borg, City of Brimbank, Councillor Catherine Nicolich, City of Brimbank, Councillor Lucy Nguyen, City of Brimbank, Councillor Virginia Tatros, City of Brimbank.
Please give a big round of applause for all our VIP guests.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are honoured to invite Ms. Thuy Dan, the first Vietnamese refugee mayor of Brimbank City, to share a few words with us. Please join us in warmly welcoming her.
Kính thưa quý quan khách, chúng tôi rất hân hạnh được mời cô Thúy Đặng, thị trưởng người Việt tị nạn đầu tiên của thành phố Brimbank, lên có đôi lời chia sẻ cùng quý vị. Trân trọng kính mời cô. A big round of applause.
Good morning, kính chào quý vị có mặt ngày hôm nay. I'm honored to be serving communities as the mayor of Brimbank for 2035. To begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodian of this land, and pay respect to their elders, past, present, and future. I could also like to acknowledge Dr. Daniel Molino, Honorable Natalie Suman, Sarah O'Connor, Katie Hall, Councillor Cookland, Miss Moira, Mr. Trung Lu, Councillor Kim Tin Trung, Councillor Joe Bost, Alice Jordan Bear, all the distinguished guests, and everyone else today. Thank you for inviting me to celebrate this big milestone. 50 years ago, in 1975, the first Vietnamese refugees had arrived in Australia. I know from my personal experience that these journeys had many challenges. My parents made a brave decision to leave the political unrest in Vietnam to search for better life for myself and my 7 siblings. My family worked hard. We faced challenges like learning a new language, a new culture, finding job, and accessing education. I'm sure my story is like many of you here today. I'm grateful for the opportunity that Australia has provided over past 5 decades to my family and the Vietnamese community. We are so proud of Australia's Vietnamese community and its contribution to Australian life and culture. More than 330,000 Australians have Vietnamese heritage in Brisbane. And Brisbane has the largest number of Vietnamese community in Victoria. It's 13% of its population was born in Vietnam. And the Vietnamese community plays an important role in shaping modern Australia and Brisbane. Today's celebration is a wonderful display of our vibration and welcoming community. And may I say a few words in Vietnamese? Kính thưa quý quan khách, quý niên trưởng, hôm nay chúng ta kỷ niệm những thành tựu và những đóng góp của cộng đồng người Việt trong suốt 50 năm qua, và cũng là thời điểm để chúng ta nhìn lại tại sao chúng ta có mặt tại Úc Châu, và cũng là để tự hào rằng chúng ta đã vượt qua những khó khăn và chúng ta đã đóng góp những thành quả đáng kể cho nước Úc và cộng đồng tại Brisbane nói riêng. Là một người tị nạn, tôi luôn biết ơn cha mẹ và quý niên trưởng đã hy sinh của cuộc đời mình để chúng tôi có những thành quả ngày hôm nay và dẫn dắt tuổi trẻ đóng góp cho nước Úc. Tôi luôn tâm niệm theo những lời nhắc nhở của ba mẹ chúng tôi là hãy trả ơn nước Úc, và chúng tôi mong rằng ngày hôm nay là ngày chúng ta tự hào với những niên trưởng đã đóng góp và đã xây dựng một tương lai tốt đẹp cho con em của chúng mình. Cảm ơn.
Thank you, Mayor Thúy Đặng. Our president left me a note to say that invite Mayor Thúy Đặng and all of Brisbane councillors onto the stage, and I missed that note, so I apologise. And welcome all Brisbane City Council councillors to your presence here today to celebrate our 50th anniversary being in Australia with us.
And it is with my great honour, I would like to invite our next guest speaker, the Honourable Dr. Daniel Molino, Federal Member for the Division of Fraser, Chair of the Standing Committee on Economics.
Kính thưa quý vị, tôi rất hân hạnh được giới thiệu đến quý vị khách mời kế phát biểu trong chương trình sáng nay. Đó là tiến sĩ dân biểu Daniel Molino, dân biểu liên bang vùng Fraser sẽ có đôi lời cùng quý khách.
Can I also begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And can I please thank the Vice President for your thoughtful words at the beginning, which was to say that today is a very important day in Australia's calendar where we celebrate what is strong and worth celebrating about our culture, but it is also a day, I think, when it's important for us to reflect on those parts of our community, the First Nations in particular, for which aspects of today are painful. And I think you put it very well, that today is a day when we should make those reflections and also affirm our commitment to reconciliation. There's a lot of people to acknowledge. I won't go through all of them, but I did want to acknowledge that I'm following a speaker in Thuy Dang who is a refugee herself, and she is a wonderful personification of the success of the Vietnamese community. And I want to acknowledge her having just been elected and given the great honour of being Mayor of Greenbank. So it's wonderful to follow you, a leader of the Vietnamese community, and of course also from Greenbank, Councillor Kim Trong, and we have Councillor Abash as well. Councillor Dang, it's wonderful that she's the opening speaker here today as a refugee who has risen to be the holder of that high office. And I also want to acknowledge that we have another councillor from the neighbouring municipality, Councillor Cookland, who herself, of course, has been mayor twice and herself has a great refugee story. In fact, she is a prominent representative, as you would all know, in the Migration Museum, her red case story. And there are people in the VIP list here today who are great stories, great examples of how this community has succeeded so much over the last 50 years. Can I also acknowledge that we have a full complement of state MPs? I think that says so much. So we have all of the lower house state MPs here, the wonderful hard-working local member and minister, Natalie, Suman, Sarah Connolly, Katie Hall, but also, of course, upper house members, Trung Lu, another success story from the Vietnamese community, of course, and the refugee Moira. And of course, federally, we have Alice Pierre Johnson. So I just wanted to acknowledge all of those local, state and federal members who are here, because I think it reflects how important this community is. I don't think I've been at an event with so many representatives from all levels of government in recent times. Can I acknowledge the VCA? I've acknowledged the thoughtful words of the Vice President. Can I acknowledge the President, Nguyen, and all of the committee members who have put so much work into today. Today is a very special day because it's a celebration both of Australia Day but also 50 years of the Vietnamese community. And I think to put these two together is something very important. And so for me today was this was a very special part of today. And indeed this centre is one which I've attended so many times over the last 6 years for government announcements, for events to commemorate the fall of Saigon, for the bonsai events, for you name it. I mean, so many events. This centre is such a central focal point of the Vietnamese community. I think it's very fitting that we are having this event here today. And the final thing I wanted to say was, it really struck me how many acknowledgements at the beginning of this ceremony there were of members of the Vietnamese community. People who work in the community sector, people who work in elderly support organisations, people who have succeeded in the professions, and all of those acknowledgements of the incredible people in the audience who do so much in the community. So many veterans who are here today who also deserve acknowledgement, of course. All of you and the many things that you're doing, I think, are exactly why it is that we are here today. I just wanted to make two very brief points. One is when we think about 50 years, for me, it brings to mind the incredibly difficult journeys that so many people had to undertake to get here. Escaping war, escaping persecution, extremely difficult journeys by sea, difficult times in refugee camps in a range of areas. These were remarkable journeys, and anybody that made it to Australia had to show incredible strength,
incredible resilience, and that was shown in what they did after they arrived here. But for me, part of the 50th anniversary celebration is to celebrate what it was that this community and of course the individuals achieved in arriving in Australia. And of course to celebrate the fact that the Australian community at that time did show generosity, did show a willingness to embrace its better multicultural side in allowing many people to enter this country. And that's something which we don't always achieve, but that was one of the moments in our history when I think we were at our best. And the second point I wanted to make is that when we celebrate the 50 years, we're also celebrating everything that was achieved since that arrival. And this community has achieved so much in business, and you can see that in all of the business centres all around my electorate and far beyond in Melbourne, in Footscray, in St Albans, in Sunshine. So much in community service through many of the organisations here today, so much in the professions. And of course now all of the second and third generation are doing the same. So what a remarkable community, how much you have enriched. I know that many in the Vietnamese community feel very grateful for the opportunity they've been given, but I know that the broader community feels far more grateful for everything that you've done for us, and the debt was repaid many times. Thank you for everything that you've done. 50 years is an incredible length of time, and you've achieved so much and enriched our society so much. So thank you very much for the chance to be here today.
Thank you, Dr. Molino, for those kind words. And I would like to invite Ms. Natalie Suman, MP State Member for St Albans, Minister for Veterans, Minister for Youth, and Minister for Small Businesses to the stage to share her speech.
Xin trân trọng mời bà Natalie Suman, Bộ trưởng Cựu chiến binh, Bộ trưởng ngành thanh thiếu niên, Bộ trưởng các doanh nghiệp nhỏ lên sân khấu để có đôi lời cùng quý khách.
Thank you very much, and it's wonderful to be here on such a significant event, both for your nation but also for the local Vietnamese community in the West. Before I begin, I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands that we're meeting on and pay my respects to their elders, both past and present. I also would like to acknowledge the President of VCA Victoria, of course my parliamentary colleagues both from state and federal, and of course the Mayor of Brisbane, Councillor Thuy Dang, a trailblazer for the Vietnamese community here, and of course Councillor Kim Trung, and my very good friend Councillor Cook Lam, the former Mayor of Maribyrnong, and a community leader and inspiration for us all. And Daniel has mentioned the story of the red suitcase that is at the Victorian Museum in the city, and the story that I know that many share across this room, coming into this country with nothing more than a suitcase. My parents made that journey in 1970, travelling here, and a country that was on the other side of the world for a better place, better opportunity to raise their family, and really to escape the conflict back home. On that note, I do want to also pay my respects and my gratitude to Mr. Dang and the Vietnam Veterans Association and any veterans that are here today. Your service and sacrifice for your nation is one that we can never repay in saying thank you, but it's a small way of us saying thank you today. I also want to acknowledge the many mayors and councillors across the West and beyond, I must say, that are here today. It does show the enormous contribution that the Vietnamese community has made, not only in local governments, but also in community organisations that are represented here. As I said, this year will be a milestone as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Vietnamese refugees arriving in Australia. The Vietnamese community has made such an enormous contribution. As I said, not only through local government, business, every sector, every space across our nation, you will see the story
and the real inspiring stories, I must say, of the contribution of the Vietnamese community. You are a hard-working, generous community. I have seen firsthand your generosity, whether it's contributing and fundraising and supporting Western Health, your contribution through Joan Kerner Women and Children's Hospital, your contribution now with the Footscray Hospital. I have seen many come together and support not only through your community, whether it's our health and well-being, but also extend your arm of friendship to other community groups as well. I'll never forget when the tragic earthquakes that occurred in Turkey, the first community to raise their hand in support was the Vietnamese community. And that really was a very special and emotional moment, but a moment that speaks about the generosity of the Vietnamese community, extending beyond their own, and really having a heart that speaks many languages, many cultures, and many religions. So I thank the Vietnamese community. I also would like to, say that the VCA has been an essential part of Melbourne's West. You've advocated, you've also contributed in many ways, assisting your community, whether it's through dancing, through many events during the year. You come together and celebrate your culture, which is really important. And as a member for St Albans, I'm very proud of what has been really contributed to St Albans. As a lifelong resident who's born and raised in St Albans, I've seen in the last 30 years the transition that St Albans, and it's thanks to the fantastic businesses that we have in St Albans. From our banh to our pho, you can see many lines not only from the Vietnamese community coming in to enjoy the businesses, but also people from across Melbourne coming to St Albans. And that's why I was proud this year, as the Minister for Small Business, to announce $200,000 to the St Albans Business Group. Not only will it secure the most popular Lunar New Year festival for the next 3 years, but also provide support for the small businesses so they can prosper and grow. But it hasn't stopped just with St Albans. We've been able to announce funding in Richmond, and I know the Mayor is here, and be able to revitalise not only Richmond, Springvale, Footscray, and of course Sunshine as well, so that we can continue to have the fantastic Lunar New Year festivals, but also, again, supporting local businesses, which is our heart and soul of our local economy. When it comes to the veteran space, I'm very proud to announce that VCA will be a recipient of funding this year so that we can have the service in October, celebrating and commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Vietnamese community. But also, we will be providing support for the Vietnam Veterans Association so they also can provide their service and commemorate during this year. We will have a partnership with the Vietnam Veterans Museum in Phillip Island, which the Australian Vietnamese Women's Association will be co-partnering in providing a service as well this year. We have funded $10 million for the museum in Phillip Island, and it's really important because it also acknowledges the Vietnamese contribution and of course the Vietnam War. On top of that, I know that Sarah will share this, my colleague. We've been extremely proud. It's taken many years to see finally the permit being issued for the Vietnam Museum, the first in Australia, which will be just around the corner in Sunshine. A contribution proud Allan Labor government has significantly funded. Now I could go on and on about the contribution and the funding, but none of this will be relevant if it wasn't for the Vietnamese community groups, and many of you here today. You actually make all the events and all the programs and support the government provides most important, because you give it the heart and soul, and that's what the Vietnamese means to our community. You are the heart and soul. You work with other communities, you're generous, and your spirit of giving is one that I'm extremely proud to say to you all today on Australia Day. Thank you for your contribution. You are what makes the tapestry of our multicultural community so very special, so very proud, and I'm absolutely proud to live amongst the Vietnamese community in sharing your culture and your beliefs and your values. So on that note, I thank you again. I wish you all a very happy Australia Day. I know that there are many events this year that we will celebrate the 50th anniversary and your contributions each and every day. And I look forward to seeing you, I think on Tuesday, when we welcome the Year of the Snake at Quang Minh Temple. So I think the celebrations have just begun. Thank you again. Chúc mừng năm mới, cảm ơn.
Thank you, Ms. Natalie Solomon, and thank you for your support. Now, if you guys can give a big welcome to our next guest speaker, Mr. Trung Lu, member of the Western Metropolitan Region, Shadow Parliamentary Secretary for Multicultural Affairs, to the stage to deliver his speech.
Chúng tôi xin được trân trọng kính mời Thượng nghị sĩ Trung Lu, thư ký nghị viện bóng tối của các vấn đề đa văn hóa, thành viên của Hội đồng lập pháp đại diện cho vùng Tây Melbourne lên sân khấu có đôi lời cùng quý khách.
Thank you. Happy Australia Day. Happy 50 years of refugee resettlement in Australia. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Trung Lu. Morning, party colleague. Due to relation to the event, I'd like to start my speech in Vietnamese with condolence. Xin thưa quý khách, mấy bác, mấy anh, mấy chú và anh Duy, cộng đồng người Việt của nước Úc tự do Victoria. Trung là nghị viên của Đảng Tự do, bữa nay đại diện cho ông Brad Barton. Bữa nay là ngày Australia Day, ngày của Úc. Và bữa nay celebrate ngày 50 năm của người tị nạn, và Úc ở đây Úc Châu mình, mà một ngày mình ăn mừng mấy người Việt Nam mình qua Úc, mình phải nghĩ lại, nhớ lại mấy người ở Việt Nam và mấy người hy sinh bởi vậy cho quê hương mình. Và một ngày mình phải nghĩ lại mấy người hy sinh qua bỏ nước để đi qua nước Úc, và qua Mỹ, và qua Canada, qua nước để kiếm tự tự do. Và một ngày thì mấy người gia đình qua nước này để hy sinh đi làm, buôn bán để cho con cái mình để có khả năng, có cơ hội. Một ngày rất là kỷ niệm của ngày 26 tháng 2 sân bay của nước Úc, mình phải niệm đến ngày đó. Và năm nay là 50 năm của người tị nạn qua Úc. Mình người Việt mình đóng góp gì cho cộng đồng, đóng góp rất là nhiều cho nước Úc, hoặc là làm ăn, hoặc là đi học, hoặc là vô làm việc. Mình người Úc, coi đưa cộng đồng người Úc, người Việt mình rất là làm thành công. Chúng muốn nói là làm gì làm, cộng đồng Việt Nam phải là tự hào. Các người cộng đồng Việt Nam sẽ đóng góp cho nước Úc rất là nhiều, phải tự hào mình là người Việt ở nước Úc. Sau khi này qua 50 năm mới nhỏ lớn lên, sau khi đó còn 50 năm sau nữa, mình phải tự hào là cộng đồng người Việt mình đóng góp cho nước Úc mình rất là nhiều. Mình phải biết mình ở đâu, và từ đâu tới, phải nhớ là mình ở đâu tới, phải nhắc nhớ là mấy đứa nhỏ ở cộng đồng mình biết mình tiếng nói, văn hóa, làm gì làm. Qua đây mình phải nhắc nhở lại mấy đứa nhỏ ở đâu tới. Và ông lãnh đạo của bạn muốn nói cũng lại cho một câu đó là giảm tự do luôn luôn làm việc với cộng đồng người Việt này. Dạ cảm ơn mấy quý mấy bác để cho việc nói chuyện cho tiếng Anh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Trung Lu. I'm the Liberal member for Western Region. Today here I'm representing the lead opposition, Brad Batten. But before I continue, I want to acknowledge my partner and colleague, Ms. Moira Member Fraser, Dr. Molino, Member for Natalie, Member for Australia, Sarah Conley, and Member for Laverton, and Member for Australia, Katie Hall, and all the mayor and all the councillors from Brisbane and neighbouring councils. Also, I said there's some candidate here for the federal coming up as well. I thought it's not them. Today we're here on a very special day, Australia Day, which leads into my speech in relation to the 50 years of Vietnamese resettlement in Australia. How important it is for the Vietnamese community today. As we celebrate remarkable milestone 50 years since the Vietnamese community arrived in Australia, it's a story of courage, resilience and hope that one profoundly shaped a nation which enriched a newfound country in Australia. Since 1975, the journey narrowing across treacherous sea to escape to freedom. Yet despite the odds, people flee war-torn country in hope of a dream, in hope of safety, for opportunity of freedom for their family and the future generations. And Australia opened its arms to the Vietnamese community. The arrival of Vietnamese refugees marked the beginning of a new chapter in our history to define multicultural, compassion and unity in this country. The Vietnamese community not only found a home here, but also gained much back, as you have witnessed over the last 50 years. Today, we see Vietnamese Australians are leaders in business, education, health, arts, public service, as Dr. Molino's Natalie has mentioned before us, as some example, first mayor of Brisbane, with other mayors from other city council for many, many years, becomes leaders in profound in this community. From not only in public service, but also the Vietnamese community has thrived in many other sectors. Now they are not pronounced as doctors, engineers and stuff, but also as in business, we have thrived. In Richmond, for example, their business open not in Australia, but also the brand, some of the business there has gone overseas, open overseas in the previous recent years. Years of celebration, Vietnamese culture have become an inseparable part of Australian identity. But this is not just a celebration of achievement, it's also a moment to reflection. We must remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice in defending the homeland. We must remember the sacrifice made by those who fed their homeland for safety and freedom. Often with little more than clothes on the back in search of freedom, we honour the strength or determination it took to rebuild and live in a new country. And we pay and contribute to Australia who welcome us open arm, open heart. And as most of those who came after 75 to the early 80s, remember the one person who has a great contribution for Vietnamese community to come to Australia. As you see, we respect, we honour the person who did that, and you see an award here today, 22nd Prime Minister of Australia, Honourable Malcolm Fraser, on the wall. As you walk through this hall here, you see his picture on the wall. That's how much respect, listen to what they've done for our Vietnamese community. As I stand here today, let's affirm the Vietnamese commitments to the value that brought us 50 years, which Australia provides compassion, inclusion, and a belief in power and diversity. Let us also recognise that the journey of resettlement continues for many others around the world. To the Vietnamese Australian community, we thank you for your courage, unwavering spirits, and not only to build better lives for yourself, but also those around you and make Australia a better place. Here's today 50 years shares a story, triumphant and unshakable bonds between Australia and the Vietnamese community. May the next 50 years be just as inspiring. And I'd like to finish off with a message of the leader opposition, Brad Patten. We want to say we'd like to continue work with the Vietnamese community, continue to assist the Vietnamese community, to strive for them to contribute and share your value, your hard work, your family value with the Australian community. Thank you, ladies, for the opportunity here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trung Lu. And I'd like to mention that Mr. Trung Lu here to represent himself and also for representing the opposition leader, Mr. Brad Patten.
And I would like to welcome our next guest, Miss Katie Hall, MP State Member of Footscray, to come onto the stage.
Chúng tôi sẽ trân trọng giới thiệu bà Katie Hall, đại diện cho liên bang khu Footscray lên sân khấu ạ.
Thank you so much. It's a really lovely honour to be with you all here today. Chúc mừng năm mới, and thank you to the VCA, to the President and the Vice President for hosting this beautiful event. I'd like to acknowledge traditional owners of the land and acknowledge that today is a challenging day for some people in our community. So I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate Australia Day with a community that has transformed Melbourne's inner west since your arrival here 50 years ago. And as a child, I grew up learning more and more about Vietnamese culture, Vietnamese food, and the strength and resilience of your extraordinary community. When the first refugee boat arrived 50 years ago, Maribyrnong was one of the first places you called home. And the Footscray community reached out to the Vietnamese community, many of whom, like Cook, arrived here with nothing but a red suitcase. And there were people in that community. I learned about the Vietnamese community through my great-grandmother, who volunteered at the Maribyrnong hostel. And there were many residents of the inner west who did that, who went down to the hostel to help out and to say, you're at home now. And with all of the members of Parliament and councillors here, who I'd like to acknowledge and thank for being here, we are enormously grateful for the contribution of the Vietnamese community. And I think it's auspicious that in this year, in 2025, as we celebrate 50 years of contribution from the Vietnamese community. It's also a really remarkable year for the inner west of Melbourne and for Footscray as we open the new Footscray Hospital. And I know that that is something that the Vietnamese community has really helped to make happen. So I would like to thank you for your generosity and your hard work in raising much needed funds for our $1.5 billion new hospital, and I know that you will be there and be a part of the opening. I'd also like to acknowledge members of the RSL and any veterans who are here with us today, and note that the Footscray RSL wouldn't exist without our Vietnamese veterans who helped save that remarkable institution in Footscray. We're very grateful for your contribution to Australia. I'm very grateful for your contribution to Footscray and to Melbourne's Inner West. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Miss Katie Hall. And if you could join me in welcoming now Miss Sarah Connolly, State Member of Laverton, to come up.
Chúng ta sẽ trân trọng giới thiệu bà Sarah Connolly, đại diện cho Liên bang khu Laverton lên sân khấu. We give her a big round of applause.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction, and I'm going to keep my speech quite short this afternoon because I'm very conscious that I'm standing in between a beautiful meal and everyone sitting today. I too will acknowledge the traditional owners on the land and which we're having this wonderful celebration today, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and also acknowledge that today can be a really difficult day for many in their community and surrounds. I'm not going to go through all our wonderful VIPs that are here today. Needless to say, it's wonderful to see you all here again in Melbourne's mighty west, but I do want to acknowledge the VCA and the many members and beautiful dancers and entertainers that we'll see here later today. Thank you for making our community such a special and wonderful and enjoyable place to visit and to live in. Katie touched on a bit of history and learning about the Vietnamese community. I grew up very far away from here, in a town where everyone largely looked like me. And the first sort of interaction, learning about Vietnam and our Vietnamese community was through learning about Australia's history and involvement in the Vietnam War, in which I had family members conscripted and sent over. And I remember learning at the end of that history talk about the huge number, hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese that fled their own homeland for a chance of survival, a chance in a far-off place to raise their family and call home and live peacefully. Fast forward 30 years, it's just beyond belief that I'm here today representing a community that is reflecting on its journey and contribution to Australia for over 50 years. And just on the drive here today, I said to my mum I was coming here and we're talking about the 50-year anniversary and commemoration of the Vietnamese community here in Australia. And my mum said to me, "Oh wow, I remember that. I can't believe it's been 50 years." And for her it felt like it's gone in a blink of an eye. And I know for many of you, maybe you think it's gone in a blink of an eye, but during that 50 years there's been an incredible journey that you've been on. You arrived here in the most extraordinary of circumstances, fighting for survival. You've had to learn a language, learn a culture that must have seemed so foreign to you at the time. I can only imagine how difficult that must have been. But being here today and seeing associations and organisations like the VCA, and looking in Melbourne's West, in places like Footscray, in St Albans, and Sunshine, the mighty Sunshine. They call me biased, but I represent Sunshine. It's extraordinary to think that I'm here amongst a community that I only learn about in the history books, and hearing stories firsthand like Cook Lamb's and how she arrived here, as Katie said, with nothing but a red suitcase, and Trong Lu's a story of how he arrived here that he's been kind enough to share. It's just extraordinary to know that we're all sitting in the room together celebrating Australia Day, but also the incredible contribution that the Vietnamese community has made to Australia. So I want to thank you for embracing Australia, for choosing to call it home and making it your home. It is your home, and you make it a better place for folks like me and my children to live and experience. So thank you, and I really hope you enjoy today and the celebration. I know the activities you have planned for this afternoon, and of course, wonderful Vietnamese food. Come on.
Xin cảm ơn Sarah Connolly.
Thank you, Sarah Connolly. And I would like to invite Moira Deeming, MP, member of Western Metropolitan Region, to the stage to give her speech.
Xin trân trọng kính mời thượng nghị sĩ Moira Deeming, đại diện khu vực miền Tây Melbourne lên sân khấu có lời của quý khách.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very glad to see all my distinguished colleagues and all these wonderful guests, and thank you to the VCA for having me along. I'll keep mine very, very short. First of all, obviously, happy Australia Day and happy 50th anniversary of Vietnamese community in Australia. I've just got one reflection to make. I was thinking about how what we've actually done here is amazing. Joining two people groups together, two nationalities, it's no small task, and it hasn't gone well elsewhere. It's a little bit like a marriage. You have two sets of families, two sets of cultures, two sets of problems, two sets of perspectives, two very different pasts. But if we have two sets of goodwill, then we can all share in one future, one prosperous, peaceful future, as one diverse community. And then that way we can face anything together. And that's what you've built here with us in Australia. So thank you so much. We love you all very much. Thank you.
Before I invite our president up to give a speech, before that, I'd like to acknowledge that we are very honoured to be here, and thank you for inviting us to coordinate this event. Ben here is a second year dental, and he's a son of a refugee. I work in bushland management to look after reserves in Brimbank and in multiple councils for habitat land management. So I'm greatly honoured to be here and to look after the land. And my father and his two brothers were both people, and we're very lucky to fly over. We got the VIP treatment, But it's 50 years, unbelievable. Thank you so much for being here with us, and please give it up.
And to continue with the program, I'd like to invite Mr. Nguyễn Quang Duy, President of the Vietnamese community in Australia, Victoria chapter, to deliver his speech. So give him a big round of applause.
Xin chào mời Chủ tịch Cộng đồng người Việt tự do Victoria có vài lời chia sẻ cùng khách. Mời ông Nguyễn Quang Duy.
Thank you, Quang Kha. Thank you, Ban. I would like to say thank you to all of you. I know today very busy day, but you still come to join with us to celebrate our national day. Then in 1975, the communists took over our country, that is South Vietnam. They took our land, they took our house, they put us in re-education camp, they forced us to go to the new economic zone. So that's the reason we had to let our country. So, Australia open arm, open heart, welcome us to here. And now, Nathan mentioned, this is our home. And today is our celebrate National Day. Thank you for your coming. And it is 50 years we settle in Australia. We enjoy freedom like all of you. This year will be a lot event. We will organize. This is only the first event. Just say thank you to Australia, to Australian, and a minister Natalie, Suman just mentioned, we have a fun after on 26th of October. We will organize a big event here in this center to organize, 50-year anniversary of the resettlement in Australia. And particularly next month, we will organize Tết Festival in Footray Park, that is 15 and 16. So we invite all of you to our Tết Festival. Before we invite you to enjoy our lunch, please come with us and take a photo. Please, the VIP, just please come to the stage and we take a photo. I just say a few words of Vietnamese. Thưa với quý vị, 50 năm về trước, năm 1975, Cộng sản đã chiếm thủ đô Sài Gòn. Cộng sản Bắc Việt đã cướp nhà, cướp đất, đẩy chúng ta đến những vùng kinh tế mới, tới những nhà tù mà chúng gọi là trại cải tạo. Đó là lý do chúng ta phải ra đi. Thì người Úc đã mở rộng bàn tay để chào đón chúng ta đến định cư và hưởng tự do như mọi người ở Úc, ở trên đất Úc này. Thì thưa quý vị, như Nathan lúc nãy có nói, đây là ngôi nhà của chúng ta, nhưng chúng ta cũng đừng quên rằng đất nước của chúng ta vẫn còn ở trong tay Cộng sản. Và thưa quý vị, là bà Natalie có nói rằng là vào tháng 10, ngày 26 tháng 10, bà sẽ giúp một cái phân để mà coi như là chúng ta sẽ tổ chức một cái sự kiện ở tại trung tâm này kỷ niệm 50 năm. Thì xin mời tất cả quý vị tới để tham dự những sự kiện sắp tới của chúng tôi. Xin cảm ơn quý vị.
One, two, Nếu cô tiếp việc gì anh Duy đi chúc mừng năm mới này.
Chúc mừng năm mới, Happy New Year
And Happy Australia Day.
and Happy Australian Day.
Okay, so thank you so much. Please be seated, councillors. Ladies and gentlemen, before